Hi, this is Mark. Congratulations. You have found this amazingly awesome show. Chances are you're listening to it right now on whether it's iTunes or Stitcher Radio or some other mobile app that allows you to stream this amazingly awesome show to your ear holes. And I can't stress how awesomely amazing this show really is. But did you know that you can also catch the latest episode of this show on the Tangibound Network? That's right. Go check out tangiboundnetwork.com. You can look them up, and you can listen to it right there. It's even mobile friendly. What more could you ask for? Which means you can pull it up on your iPhone or your Android, even your Windows phone. Yeah, who has one of those? But still, point remains, you can do it. You can do it. Check it out, tangiboundnetwork.com. Listen to this show, the latest episode, every time. Check it out.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time. Stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everybody. You miss me? Well, I had a really good reason for not being on last week's show, so I apologize that I wasn't with you guys, but we'll get into that in a little bit. With me, as always, and this is Jen, by the way, in case you're new to the show and just tuning in.
Hi, Jen.
Hi. With me, as usual, we have Henno. That dulcet.
Hi, Henno.
Hi, Henno. And Brian.
Hey,
Hi,
hey,
Brian.
Hi, Brian. Oh, wait.
I feel like we're going back to Romper Room, which most people probably don't even remember.
Topical. Man, that is a current pull right there.
I'm telling you, right?
Hey, I lived next door to the original Miss Nancy
Really?
Nice.
from San Francisco.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, and she had the. I went into her garage one day. We got to know each other because my El Camino would rattle the windows of her house.
Nice.
And so she came over one day. We were talking and brought me in the house, and I knew her son kind of. I knew who he was, and she's like, "Yeah, he did this really cool mural on the wall in the garage." And so she brings me in the garage, and it's literally Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Mm-hmm.
Like the one whole wall was nothing but bricks,
Oh, nice.
and there were bricks missing, and they were album covers, all the Pink Floyd album covers.
Oh, that's
cool.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, so the original Miss Nancy had The Wall in her garage, which I think is hilarious.
Awesome.
Nice.
I love it.
That's great. Yeah.
Many layers. Everybody has many layers for sure.
Onions. We're just all onions.
Yeah.
Very, very much onions.
Yep. We make people cry. Yep.
Yes, we do.
Mhm.
We're complicated and make people cry.
And hated by a lot of people.
Yes.
I don't know
Unless
if
you dunk us underwater, then we don't irritate as much.
Yeah. Something like that.
Or saute us in butter, and they're really tasty.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's kind of weird.
So, being said, going into cannibalism.
Yeah. Well, the next step would have been, because I would have been like, I order a lot on my sandwiches. Like, this is getting really weird now. Like,
So, how are you guys? How you been? Long time no talk. What's up?
What's up?
We're a little silly tonight, folks. Sorry.
mhm. Little bit.
All right, who wants to go first? I know it's your favorite time of the show.
Always, yeah. We should just start doing a virtual a Skype Rochambeau.
There you go.
Yeah, like all
Fess
right.
up. Fess up what you've been doing in your lives.
Right.
I realized that listening to podcasts that go into that interview people that are experts in the field of recording studio technologies, engineering, producing is a really bad thing for someone that is a process junkie. And yeah,
Makes sense.
it was bad. It was like, why did I listen to this? Because I literally went home and tore everything apart and started over.
Right. Yeah.
It was bad.
Why am I doing it this way?
But the good news, what was that?
I said, why am I doing it this way?
Yeah, that was it. I listened to two. That was it. Just two podcasts.
Right.
I had like a half a page of notes and came back and literally tore my studio apart, reconfigured it. And I was the good thing was I got back in mixing last week, which was awesome.
Right.
But after listening to everything, I was like, I don't need all this. I don't know how far I just set myself back, but hey, you know.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah. But I went to
mix things up.
Yeah, I went to a fundraiser for I've played at it the last 3 years, and it's for an offshoot of Alcoholics Anonymous, where they basically take books and stuff and literature into the treatment centers and hospitals and correction facilities and all that. And so they have an annual barbecue and it's really good. But this year I just took my gear down and did a little DJing. But the local rehab hospital, they bring a whole busload of people over.
Oh, that's
which
cool.
is really, it's really powerful because, you know, you just see the looks on their faces. They're like, what am I doing? You know, like,
Sure.
but how it was explained to me, and I like this, it's like, it's one of their first opportunities to actually see people enjoying themselves sober.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a big deal. And we have some speakers and sometimes we have professionals like some magistrates or judges but there's usually somebody that works within the field and then just people who have experience, and they're usually people that have done in corrections and, you know, they generally have the harder stories. But they have an auction at the end, and I won this really, really stylish fake cow fur coat.
Yeah, it is something.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I'll hold on a second here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if Jen saw the picture.
This is great podcasting.
Right. It sure is. Yeah.
All right, folks.
Yeah.
Keno is showing me his coat, and it is amazing. It's like a bomber jacket made out of cowhide.
Well, fake.
It's a cross between a bomber jacket and a blue jean jacket type of a thing.
It is, and it fit perfectly. It was hilarious.
That's fabulous.
Heno, what you don't know is they knew it would fit you, and they just removed all the other entries.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. Then they were like, then I was usually like, well, you know, that 40-inch TV looks pretty good. I would have rather have had that, and then I won the 40-inch TV.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Just like, yes, I did. Like it was brand new in the box, still had the straps on it. Some anonymous person donated it. It's
That's
a
amazing.
40-inch LED 1080p, yeah, and a couple of dozen farm fresh eggs and a bunch of books. And it was really cool. So I got a stack of books that I already have. Most of the books, they're all recovery books. And before the event really kicked into gear, I was sitting down and someone introduced me to a guy local in Haley who had, you know, almost 60 days sober. And so I went out and gave him the books that I got. So that felt really good.
Sure.
Do something nice for somebody.
And the guy's like, what about that TV? I could use a TV. And you're like, nah.
What about that TV? Yeah.
Like,
Don't push it. You need books right now.
Yeah.
Don't push it, newbie.
Yeah.
Do some reading.
Do you know who I am? Yeah.
Yeah. Go talk to your sponsor.
Right.
Right.
I had a great lesson on the way back in this is one of my new, along with my leave for work way before you need to, my other new strategy for teaching myself something is while I'm driving, is to try not to pay attention to everybody else and what they're doing.
Right, just by staring at the floor instead of looking out, right? No.
Exactly. Yeah, it works great.
Yeah.
But I had this person in front of me that was the white line on the right side.
Mhm.
They were practically on the middle of it. They were so far over. Like, they were not even in the middle of the road.
Wow.
They were like all the way on the right side practically. And I'm just driving behind, and we're just, it's slow moving traffic, not, we're just cruising along. And it was such a reminder for me about how, like, I used to make getting to work it's a competition or something.
Yeah.
But it's not. All that matters is me getting to where I need to get to in a reasonable time.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who passed me, who pulled in front of me. Like, none of that stuff. None of it matters.
Yeah.
But I realize that it's a lifelong obsession for most people driving.
It is. Yeah. The part that
And it's
always
been
cracked me up about work and stuff was that how many people complain about their jobs, but absolutely have to get to work as quick as they can. It's like, generally, if there's something you're going to do and you don't like it, you take your time. Like, why are you in such a hurry to go do something you don't want to do?
So, yeah. And why do you want to make a competition out of it?
Right.
And jockey for a position,
Yeah.
It's like,
Mhm.
Like, enjoy yourself because you've got
on
8 hours
my way
of
back.
whatever,
yeah. So on the way back, there's a lot of road construction going on, and on the way back from the picnic, and it was a great time for me to just say, hey, I'm just driving. It just got slow.
Yeah.
It's not a competition. It's not a race. But it's one of those things too. It's like when you get in the 9 items or less line and you're counting how many the guy in front of you has.
It's so true. And you're like, that jerk, he's got 11.
Yeah. And it totally comes back to the whole thing. Whose inventory are you taking?
Yeah.
Yep.
True.
Your own?
True.
Or somebody else's?
I walked up
to
I walked up to the 10 items or less aisle one time, and I had 11 things, and there was nobody in line there. And I said, can I come through anyway? I have 11. And, the woman was like, yeah, don't worry about it. It's, it's not like a tight rule, kind of a thing. So, and while I'm standing there, a guy walks up behind me and goes, this is 10 items or less.
Oh, no.
Well, hold on. I counted how many things he had in his cart or his basket or whatever. He had 9. And I said, well, if you buy one for me, we're both good here. Because then I'll have 10 and you will have bought me something. So both of us win. And he shut up really fast because, it's like, dude, that one more item is not going to ruin your day.
Yeah.
Plus it was
Right.
something I had bought 2 of, whatever it was. So she didn't even have to, like, it's, and it's small stuff.
Great.
Yeah, if I have a cart full, I'm not going to go with like a cart full of stuff to one of those. And I've had them offer before, where they're wide open and you've got, let's say 20, 30 things, and they're like, oh, you can come in. It's like, nah, like I've actually refused because that feels weird to me, but yeah, for like one item, it's like, come on,
Mhm. Well, I actually had to this week multiple times. I was reminded of the hot dog story. So going way back when, in our early days with Henno, he shared a story about hot dogs at work.
Yep.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And the gist of the story was he had enough hot dogs for a couple days worth of lunch in the lunchroom, in the fridge and stuff. And somebody ate one of the hot dogs. And it really, really, really bothered him until he finally put it in perspective of maybe that person really, really, really needed that hot dog.
That person
And-
is a hot dog now. Henno was pretty violent. No, I'm kidding.
Yes, and quite a few times this week, I was going to mention it, that the hot dogs popped up in my head because I found myself getting really irritated and really fixated on something. And it just helped to remind me, I'm like, I don't know where they're at. I don't know what they're going through. I don't know what the background is.
Yeah.
I have no idea. So all I can do is control me.
Yep.
And in the situation that I'm in, is it better for me to obsess and try to figure out why they had to do it that way? Or do I need to reevaluate and say, I'm not going to spend my time and my energy focusing on something having to do with someone else that I can't change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can move on with my day and be happy, or
Exactly.
I can obsess over this because I think I should be right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's how I looked at it. That's why the driving thing has been a great exercise to let go of ego.
Yeah.
You know, to just really let go of that stuff. And and the other one that I like, and the process junkie thing is also just something laughing at myself of the things I can get obsessive about. And, you know, that think that this is important now because of something I heard rather than just do my thing. Just do my thing.
And that's the real takeaway from like producers. Cause I'm not knowledgeable on production stuff or mixing stuff, but from a few podcasts where I've heard people who do that kind of work, I've noticed that everyone has their own way. Like there's certain things I'm sure that are considered right or wrong, but overall they all seem to have like, well, I started here and then I did that. You know, they had just whatever they feel is the right way is the right way. You know, like, so like you said, it's like you could just do things your way and you're not wrong. You know, someone may not agree with your technique or, oh, you should have done that. Like, well, they're trying to change, you know, but yeah, that's it.
It's okay to indulge our obsessions sometimes, you know, like you recognize the fact that this is, you know, you're a process junkie. So you indulged yourself a little bit. No biggie. You know, if you kept tearing it apart, listening to more, kept tearing it apart, and it became a distraction from your life and actually being productive, that would be an issue. Yeah. But you indulged yourself. You allowed yourself a little bit of leeway there, and you had some fun with it, figured out some new stuff, and it helped make you build some creativity again for you. Yeah. So, you know, it was a win-win.
Yeah, that's it. In the end, it was like maybe an hour and a half, maybe, and I sat back down and I got back to work. And then, and the other part of it is I started making some changes to see, because that was also the part of this is I opened myself up to the possibility that I was wrong.
Yeah.
Like maybe I can do this. Maybe I don't need to do it this way.
Yeah.
Let's try it rather than to be locked in. Like, no, I started this way and I'm going to finish it this way. These are, you know, whatever. That's my guitar part that I put in there and it should stay in there. Well, maybe it shouldn't. So let's try it.
Yeah.
You know, and that was good. A good thing was to be open-minded to be open-minded. Once again, it's just that idea, like maybe I am wrong, and I'd like to come at the world from that angle more than I come from the angle of I know I'm right, because that's who I used to be, and that's a lot of ego stuff.
Oh yeah, it is.
I mean, a lot of ego in there, you know. Versus if I can have a balance there, I don't want to be the person that the minute somebody says something, I second guess myself all the time, but I also don't want to be the person that's overly confident. I really would like to have that balance.
Yeah.
And my last thing is I got to do something that on Friday night that I was really uncertain about, because it's a part of my recovery that I generally keep private, or I reserve for private conversations. If somebody asks about it, it's not something that I go out and talk about. And Matthew from the Passersby podcast asked me to do a story on his show. And if you haven't listened to his show, he basically brings somebody on and they tell a story of some sort. And he doesn't inject himself very, very much. Sometimes he lets the person go the whole time, and then they do some exchange at the end. And it's a really fun way to get to know somebody. And I have done so many podcasts already where I've told all the funny stories, or the touring story, the poop and fart jokes, all that stuff.
Right.
You know, the drunkalogs, all that. And I've also shared in depth how, my recovery. But the one thing that kept coming up to me, because we've been talking about doing this for a while, and the one thing that came up to me was spirituality, and how I got past the fear of getting involved in a program that puts the stress on God.
Right.
You know, I mean, 12-step programs, it's higher power, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
So, but that's also like one of those ones, am I going to buzzkill your show? You know?
Well,
seriously.
On a show like his, though, you can't really buzzkill it because it's about whatever story you want to tell. You know?
Yes.
And
that sets the mood of the show.
Yeah, every one of the story, well, not everyone, it's not like I listen to millions of them or something, but I listen to The Risk, and The Moth, and they both, like, whatever story the person's telling, that's what it's about in that moment, is that story. It isn't necessarily like, oh, well, it's always got to be this. It's, you know, there's no necessarily, like, there might be an overwhelming theme to the story or something, but otherwise it's, you know, it's only about what's being told at the time.
That's awesome that you talked about that.
Yeah, I talked to some people whose opinions I value, and I just said, hey, this is where I keep coming back to, and they all said, then you should do it, and it turned out great. And so I want to bring it up here because I do, you know, reference faith and higher power often. And if you want to hear a full detailed, that episode will be out, you know, whenever this month sometime or something like that. And, you know, I'll promote it and throw it up there for him. So
yeah, we'll definitely
that'd be awesome.
So,
yeah, we'll probably bring it up again when he actually drops it. You know?
Yeah, it'd be cool. I was surprised at how kind of emotional I was at the end, because it really is, to me, it's a big deal because it was a huge point of resistance for me. It was gigantic. And to get past it,
I've heard a lot of people resist 12-step, like, or they will resist the idea of going to a program for that exact reason.
Reason. So
everything else they're open to, but the higher power concept, they're like, I don't believe in that. I can't. And it's like, you can work around that. The other stuff is so worth it that you can work around that part of it. So I'm not saying fake anything, just you can come up with a higher power maybe that isn't a religious
thing. And I talk a little bit about that, and I didn't bring up much. I have a friend that's an atheist in 12-step programs, and when I hear him share, sounds like what's going on in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's an atheist.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe him. But when he talks about his recovery, I go, I relate.
Yeah.
So it's, and that was, I guess, my thing is I really wanted to, and I hopefully I succeeded, but to show that it's really not that big of a hurdle if we have a little bit of willingness.
Right. Yeah. That's a good thing. I'll, kind of slap myself on the back here too. I was on his show a while ago, also. So if you happen to listen to Salty Language, Tony and I actually tell the story of, what was it? How we started the podcast, I think it was.
Kind of a little bit of the origins.
Yeah, which we did on our own show, but we derailed ourselves so many times that this was actually a little more of a concise telling of kind of how it all started for us. So, and it was fun. It was actually the day we met Matthew in person.
Yeah.
It was the first time we had actually met him. And then we're like, okay. Yeah. And we were at a brewery and we went over, off to the side. They had a place and we recorded. It was cool. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
Yep.
Cool. Brian, you're weak.
So, what happened to me today is actually kind of where I want to focus. And it's interesting because of kind of what you've been talking about and what we talked about, like, the worrying about others and how things kind of, where you place the importance on things. So today, the goal was I needed to go pick up my medicine from my doctor's office and drop a letter off. I needed to pick up a book return and pick up a book from the library. And then my mom wanted me to go with her to the grocery store because she had a prescription to pick up and, to just grocery shop, right? So I was like, okay, Now, I go to the doctor's office and I tell, hey, there should be medicine here for me to pick up because they're samples or whatever, Well, the nurse couldn't find him, and my therapist was there, but she had just started a session with a client, so they don't want to interrupt because it's really unprofessional, And I was like, don't worry about it, because I can wait till tomorrow. I was like, can you just make sure you leave her a note that I need the medicine because I'm out, And they were like, oh, okay, And, I left the letter. So I'm just standing there and I'm just like, because it shouldn't have been that difficult for me to be able to get my medicine, but they can't go get samples for me because, you have to be licensed and whatever. So anyway, so I was just like, whatever. And again, luckily my doctor's office is right up the street. It's not like it's across town or anything else. So I immediately was just like, oh, well, I walk out, I get into the car and, my mom's like, what's going on? I was like, they can't find the medicine. They don't know where she put it and they can't ask her because she's in a session right now. So, I'll find out probably tomorrow or whatever. So like, all right, we go to the library and I had a book reserved. There was a book my mom wanted to read and I had reserved it since I was going to be, in there anyway to drop off a book. So I dropped the book off. I go over to the shelf where they have the reserved books and I hadn't gotten the email today, which I thought was a little weird because they're usually right on top of it, because the book was in yesterday and I was like, well, I'll just reserve it, So I get over there and it's not there. So I was like, well, maybe they haven't done the pulls yet, so I go up to the counter and I was like, hey, have you guys pulled it? And I was like, or if not, can I just go get it off the shelf and cancel the, so that it, clear it out. So everything's the way it should be. Yeah, no problem. She's like, I'll go get it for you. I know right where it's at. Okay. So the librarian comes back empty handed and she's like, the book's not there. And I was like, okay. And she looks in the computer again, to make sure no one checked it out or something. It's not checked out. Then the guy who does the pulls walks by and she goes, did you try pulling this? Or a woman, I'm sorry. And the woman goes, yeah, I did, but it isn't there. And she's like, and the thing is, she's like, I checked it in yesterday because someone returned it to the library yesterday. And she goes, so I checked it in. She's like, I know exactly what the cover of that book looks like. And she goes, well, let's check. I guess sometimes they like stuff is in the back or they have whatever. So she's like, so they go and check again and whatever. Nothing. So, and the library has another copy of this book, but it's, it's currently out, so she goes, well, we'll basically prioritize you. And she's like, I am so sorry. And I was like, it's probably more frustrating for you than me. I was like, cause I know my mom's got tons of books to read. Like she has a stack of books and she just reads a ton of books. So, and I know she's not going to sweat it, and I was like, it's probably more irritating for you than me because basically it's an unresolved inventory. It's probably going to bug them because they can't find it. And the other woman knows that it was brought back, Yeah. And I'm, and I was like, okay, have a nice day. And I walk out. I get in the car and my mom's like, sees that I'm empty handed. And she's like, what's going on? And I was like, they can't find the book. And I just laugh. Because it's funny to me. And I was like, I'm batting 1,000 today. I am unsuccessfully running errands. That is what we're doing today, right? So we get to...
That's fun. You're such a loser.
Yeah, right? That is exactly what we're doing. We're not complete. Right now, the goals were pick up medicine. Nope. Get a book from the library. Nope. So we go to the grocery store, we do our shopping, go up to the pharmacy. They're out of the medicine because it was a water pill my mom needed. They're out of it. They won't have it until tomorrow. So we just laugh because at this point it's comical that we're 0 for 3 on picking things up today. Wow. And, and I was looking at it and I was like, it's great that at no point was I like, and angry or whatever. I just totally laughed the whole thing off. The first one I was a little more frustrated about, because it's my antidepressant, and it's like, I kind of need this, but whatever. But again, it's like, I understand because if I was sitting in therapy, it sucks when someone interrupts your therapy. I've had it happen and it was for emergency reason, but it's still, it's so, especially if you're in the middle of something, it really breaks the mood. And afterwards it's hard to get back to that place, so I wouldn't want to break into somebody's therapy, even though I do need the medicine. I have 0, it kind of is an emergency, but it isn't, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not gonna, it's not a life-saving medicine as far as a heart pill or something. So it's like, whatever, I can wait till tomorrow, you know? And that's why I just immediately realized that I processed that in the best possible way, because her and I both, we're just laughing at it, because it was, by the end, it was so comical that I was like, I'm glad we don't have anywhere else to go pick up anything. I was like, you know, good thing we're going home to eat, because if we were going to pick up food, we would probably not get half of our order or something, because just the way the day's gone, you know, it's just,
yeah.
And that's can't get anything. Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a catastrophizing way, where it's, everything's, it was just, like I said, it was so comedical to us, or so comedic, I mean, that we just could not seem to get anywhere today. And, you know, like I said, at the end, I just laughed. And even now I'm thinking about it. It's making me laugh again, because, you know, like, so basically tomorrow we're going to go do this. Well, 2 of the 3 things tomorrow. The library probably won't be for a few weeks, because they have to wait for the book to be returned unless they find it. You know, they told me they would call if they find it. So
that's so funny, but that's so awesome, because knowing you for as long as I have, I know at different points in your life that would have not been your reaction.
No, I would have been really mad or frustrated, or just like, I would have been catastrophizing it. I would have, this sucks. Absolutely. Why is everything, you know, and as silly as that sounds now, it's the truth though. It would have really turned into, if nothing else, it would have just turned into a moment of anger, because nothing's going my way and all day kind of a thing. And it just, whatever, I'm not going to let it bug me, because it does stink that we have to make another trip to do 2 of these things tomorrow, you know, but what can you do? What are we going to do? Stand there at the pharmacy and yell at them how they don't have a medicine? That doesn't make it come in faster, you know? If they don't have it, they don't have, and you know, if she needed it that bad, we could go to another location or a pharmacy and get it. Yep. You know, you could do that. Like, we went to a Kroger pharmacy. You could go probably to another one and get it and say, hey, I really need this. And they're like, oh yeah, here, you know, I've done that before, you know. And mine, I could have been a jerk and been like, I really need this medicine at the doctor's office, and, you know, really pushed and probably got my way, you know. Yeah. But it's not worth it. I'm not going to do that, because, again, I wouldn't want someone doing that to me during therapy, you know.
Right.
So.
And again, it's like the world didn't evolve around you. You recognized the fact that you had your place in it, and unfortunately, it was not on the top of the hill today.
Well, no, do you know what it was? Life lifed me a little bit today. It wasn't it wasn't a big thing, but life was like, let's just see what happens, you know, and just gave me a little shove down a hill, and you know, like, well, either he goes wee, or he, you know, so
that's so
and
great,
fun.
So I have a quick question, Hanno, before Jen tells us about her time. Did you keep riding your bike to work?
So that was actually, I'm glad you just brought that up, because I noticed on my little list that I had, I forgot that. We ended up having the smoke came back in like with a vengeance.
Boo.
Oh no. Yeah.
This week. I mean, I could see this was the first time I could actually see the column like a nuclear blast going up way into the sky. I mean, it was horrible. And I mean, it was a bad day on Monday, but the good news is that it cleared, and I'm doing I usually take Thursday off instead of our, you know, like Labor Day and holiday, and so I will work on Monday. So I have tomorrow off, and I'm going to be taking a car down for one of our owners to get it serviced, and make a little side money. And I rode my bike to work today.
Nice.
So I managed to do it again. And this time I left earlier, so I wasn't in a mad panic when I got realized I gave myself plenty of extra time today, and I actually enjoyed it, and I had a nice ride. And because I've been, I'm glad you brought that up. I've been trying to do the don't beat myself up, because I've just had stuff come up this whole week after work. There's always been something to do, somewhere to go, something needing to be done. And even though I might have my bag with me and my gym stuff, it just wasn't going to work out today.
Yeah.
And to just go, that's okay. I'll get my opportunity. And today I got to, and so rode up, and it's cool. So I'll I left my bike at work, so I'll whatever maybe on Sunday I'll ride it home.
Well, and
Nice.
it works really well for you too, because it's like you have to get to work. And either, you probably, you have to leave at a different time or whatever, so you have time to do it. But it's like, you have to get to work either way, whether it's a car or your bike. So this way it also gives you the opportunity to, get a workout in also, so you're kind of combining two tasks there. So, it's a good way to kind of remove the, well, I won't have time after work excuse,
Exactly.
Very
Yeah.
true.
And it's just, it's also nice to just, to get into the headspace of like, I'll get it where I can, and take, and not beat myself up when I can't.
Yes. Yeah.
Very cool.
That's great. Yeah.
Thanks for asking.
Yep. I actually forgot I was going to write it down in things to bring up because to get an update, because you mentioned it last week. I was curious if it was going to carry over or if you were going to be like, us to this.
Yeah. I was like, oh man, I don't want to get on the crazy life and have nothing, but if that's the way it is, that's the way it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So my last couple weeks, have been kind of interesting. Unfortunately, I kind of felt this was going to happen, and it did. Last Tuesday, I had a pretty bad breakdown, and I haven't had one probably good couple years now, and I lost my stuff. I mean, I was at home, thankfully, but
did you bend an iPad?
I did not bend an iPad. I did not bend an iPad.
Hey, there was a temper tantrum.
Yeah,
that's more important.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it was, my fiance made a joke, a very basic, funny, innocuous, really benign, nothing type of, just a little offhanded comment. And something about it was like that last straw, and I lost it. And I knew I was going to lose it. And I knew it was the bipolar, and it was not real. So I had enough forethought to know this is not a real emotion. This is my bipolar bouncing back, basically, with a vengeance. So I got up and I went into the kitchen and I started doing the dishes to try to distract myself. I couldn't help it, and I just stood there at the counter and just bawled, just sobbed. And I was trying to be as quiet as possible because I didn't want him to know about it, because I didn't want him asking questions, because I didn't have any answers for the questions I knew he was going to ask.
Yeah.
So him being observant is, and I'm sure I wasn't nearly as quiet as I was trying to be.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's tough to really hide bawling. But yeah, I know what you mean.
So
yeah.
He comes into the kitchen and he's like, "What you doing?" And he's like, and I had my back to him, and he touched me on the shoulder, and I turned and looked at him, and he just saw I had just crumbled. And he's like, what? Everything with the wedding is good. Everything, what? And I looked at him, and I was just sobbing, and I'm like, it's everything and nothing. And he's like, what? And I'm like, I know this is horribly hard, and I'm trying to find the words to express where all those emotions coming from. And I said, what's going through my head right now is, why would anyone want to be with me for the rest of their lives? I have trouble keeping the dishes clean. I have trouble keeping the house clean. I've got piles of clothes all over the place. I have trouble keeping things up. I make money, but not really enough. He doesn't need me. Yeah. He makes his own money. He's lived by himself for many, many years and done just fine without me. There really is no purpose for me in his life. So why is he, I don't deserve him, and why would he possibly want me for the rest of his life?
Yeah.
And he turned and looked at me. He's like, you're having cold feet. You're having second thoughts. I said, no, just the opposite. I'm trying to find ways of giving you an out.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. Yeah.
I said, it's my view of myself at this exact moment is so devastatingly low. I can't understand why anyone would want to be with me outside of necessity.
Yeah.
And he looked at me, he's like, I said, no, I know, it makes no sense.
He's like handing you a distorted thinking worksheet. He's like, read. Yeah. No, I'm kidding.
Exactly. Yeah. He's like, I don't understand. I'm like, I know, honey, and then you're not going to. And I completely get that. I said, I'm not asking you to understand. I'm trying to give you a viewpoint as to what's going on inside me and why I'm having this emotional outburst. I said, I will be fine. I will find my equilibrium. But this is the moment I'm in. Like, this is my reality at this exact second. And he did the best thing he could. You know, he hugged me. He's like, you are wearing my grandmother's ring for a reason. She was my favorite grandmother. You would not be wearing that ring if I didn't want you and I didn't want to be engaged to you.
Right.
He's like, I was single for many, many years. I don't have to get married.
Right.
He's like, I'm choosing to get married. And so he ended up having to go to work, which is honestly probably for the best, because I needed to reflect, I needed to process, and I needed to kind of be by myself to get my stuff together. Basically, the disease won the battle.
Yeah.
I'm fighting the war, but it won that battle. For sure, hands down, knocked me out cold. I ended up going upstairs and I talked to my best friend. I was texting with her and pretty much bawled my eyes out for a couple hours. And I've not had that. I can't tell you the last time I've had this type of reaction.
Yeah. And
at that point, by the time I had finally exhausted everything and had processed through everything, I recognized the fact that in prior relationships I've had, I needed them and they needed me. And it was a great relationship and I loved them dearly, but it wasn't probably the healthiest relationship. And now I'm in a healthier relationship where we can each stand on our own. And it really scared me. And a lot of that reaction I was coming from was it was very scary to be faced with the fact that somebody finds me good enough. Just me, with all my flaws and all my imperfections and all my goods and all my bads and all my greats and all my not so greats. But I had to come to terms with that. And I had to accept it. And it was incredibly difficult for me to accept it, but I had to accept that. And anything else is not fair to him. Because, you know, what kind of guy would he be to go through all of this to at the last minute say, nah, I changed my mind. You know, that's not giving him much respect or, you know, or credit of the human being and why would I ever want to be with someone who could do that or would do that?
Yeah.
You know? And from all of this, so a couple of key things came out of all this. So it was so bad. The next day, I'm the only person that works the morning shift. So I went into work, and as soon as a couple other people came into work, I left for the day. My eyes were swollen. My head hurt like crazy. And I literally had a crying hangover type of a thing. Mm-hmm. But I came home that day, which was Wednesday, and I called and I made appointments for both my doctors. And so I did that and I was feeling kind of better and stuff. And I thought about processing and getting things down and to understanding my fears and understanding where a lot of that emotion came from.
Mm-hmm.
And I made some lists of things that I needed to do and stuff that my fiance needs to do in the next, because we're down to about 3 weeks, in the next 3 weeks. So I have everything organized, listed out. I have put together my plan of attack and my plan of action. Also, that night, before I went to bed, after I had cried myself out, I laid my head on the pillow and I had an inspiration. I wrote my vows. In that moment, I wrote my vows. And I grabbed my cell phone, I typed up a little text message to myself, and I wrote them. And I'm like, I'll probably change them, or I'll probably, whatever. I'll just put it aside. I wrote down those thoughts and I put it aside. Days later, I picked it up again and I looked at it. And I'm like, I still can't see anything I want to change. It's my eyes. I put it down. Walked away for a few more days. Picked it up again. Looked at it. I'm like, God, I really don't want to change anything. So I sent it off to my mom, which I knew, love it. It's wonderful. And, mom stuff.
Right.
Sent it off to my best friend, who's a writer for her job. She's a communications expert and been a writer for about, 10, 15 years now. I shot it to her and I said, hey, can you check this out? Make sure that everything makes sense and, logistically good and all that good stuff. I got a message back. She's like, this is beautiful. You've captured you've captured him. I would not change one word. She's like, I could not have written this better. In all my years of experience, this could not be written any better than it is written at this moment. And it dawned on me, I had to go, because I was really struggling with my vows, and nothing was coming to me, and everything seemed like trite or, too forced and stuff. And I actually had to get to a point where I had kind of unloaded all of my stuff and my insecurities and my stressing and my overwhelming everything, and I had to let it all go, put it all out. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden the words were right there in front of me.
It's like looking for something in a drawer. Sometimes you just got to dump the drawer out and then you can find it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
now that I have made everybody really curious, I will read it to you, because he doesn't listen to my podcast, because this is my podcast. So
the one time he does,
He won't. Yeah. All right. I vow to provide you tacos when you're hungry, provide you love when your heart needs filling, provide a quick jab when your mouth needs quieting, provide you encouragement and support when your soul needs lifting. I vow to help you be the best man you can be, and vow to be your partner for life. I love you with all that I am, but more than that, I choose you to be my one today and each day forward. I say these vows in front of God and our loved ones, forever and always. Even death will not part us. Yes, you are now stuck with me.
Nice.
And when I wrote that, it just helped me to kind of, I think, connect all those dots. I remember my initial reaction when I was proposed to was very similar to those emotions that I expressed last Tuesday.
Like, why?
Right.
Yeah.
And really, it was. And I kept looking at him and going, I feel like this is going to be a joke. I feel like you're going to, you're going to say, just kidding. Give me the ring back. Yeah. He's like, I couldn't process it the entire evening. I struggled with processing it. And I couldn't understand why it was so difficult for me up until that cathartic moment when I finally let it all go and let it all out. And when I finally got to the root of it and I realized it's fear, my absolute fear of trusting someone fully, 100%, not because they need me, because they want me.
It's
you know,
a very,
and that's
very
so
vulnerable
strong.
place. Yeah, it's a very vulnerable place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, and I just, so.
It makes sense though,
Unfortunately.
because like, you know, when Heno talked about having his temper tantrum weeks or months ago, I
Yeah.
said the same thing, and it pertains here too. It's the same thing. It's like, seriously, sometimes you just need a good temper tantrum, a breakdown. It isn't it isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's viewed as a bad thing. But man, sometimes you just gotta ugly cry like you're Claire Danes on Homeland, and you just gotta get it out. And then once you do, it's like, yes. And it's therapy feels that way when it's at its best. Working out feels that way when it's best. It's just sometimes you need that emotional and mental purge to really kind of reset yourself, you know? And you both, Heno gave a great example of one aspect of it, more from like an anger kind of side and whatever. And you've given this one that's a little more fear-based, you know, and it makes so much sense though, to just, you know, and I've done it for like just hurt reasons, you know, just, you know, like, you know, after my dad died, there was one at times where I just need to just get all of it out of me. And then I was like, I'm okay now. You know, I can deal with this.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why I said people should not be afraid of embracing it. Sometimes you just, even if it's lock yourself in a room and just sob until you almost drown in the tears, you know, just get it out.
Yeah. And it just really, it helped a lot. And it really kind of helped underline some different things. And I went and I've been reading on different stuff, and it's tough because he's a normie, you know, he's got his own issues for sure, but he doesn't understand mental illness is, you know, from my perspective, which I can't expect him to do so. So he really struggles with that. Like when I'm clingy and when I'm emotional and when I need extra attention, he doesn't know how to process that. He doesn't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
You know, he's very much a guy's guy and kind of keeps emotions to himself, and, you know,
right.
So he doesn't know how to process that.
Well, and the thing is,
his thought is to fix it.
The thing is, the answer and how to fix that are really simple, and it's ask the person what they need from you.
Yes.
And just go by what they tell you. If they say nothing, just be as nice and comforting as you can be. But sometimes you don't need something from someone else. Just being there. Again, a great moment. I don't remember if you were on the show when I talked about it, Jen, or not. I think you were. Like, there's a show called You're the Worst. And the woman on the second season of the show goes into a very deep depression. And then at one point, when she's absolutely at her bottom, the guy, it looks like he's going to leave her, and he comes back and builds her a fort and stays with her all night. She kept telling him, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want this. I don't want this. And so he came back and just built the fort around her, laid next to her and held her. And she woke up and was like, you stayed. And it's like sometimes that's all the person needs is just be there. Sometimes they don't need to parse it out, or they don't need to, you know, you don't need to obsess on it or cry, or sometimes you just need to be left alone with company. You know, it's
the best thing he did. So he left for work Tuesday night, came home Wednesday morning, didn't really see each other much. Wednesday afternoon, he was hanging out with his buddy, you know, helping his buddy out, which was already planned. So he didn't even get home Wednesday night until late.
Yeah.
So everything, it seems to go against everything on the books would be, you know. You see your girlfriend, your fiance's upset. Yes, you have to go to work, but then the next day you want to be around her and make her feel better and comfort her and all this other stuff. Instead, he kind of stays away. But that gave me my time to get things together. I did tell him, though, on Wednesday, because Sundays are an optional work day for him.
Yeah.
I did tell him, though, I'm like, I need you Sunday. I need you home on Sunday. He ended up working Sunday.
Yeah.
Not a big fan of his, but he He thought that he wouldn't actually get it. He figured he'd sign up for it to keep his place in line, but he was far enough down on the list that he wouldn't actually work it.
It's funny.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So, not the smoothest move on his part, but, we're all human.
Yeah.
We all try.
Mm-hmm.
So this weekend is he gets 5 days off in a row. So this weekend, lots of plans for him. So
it sounds like you let go.
Yep.
mm-hmm.
And in that, in doing so, you freed something that had been constrained.
Yes.
Inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what fear does to us.
Yeah.
It grips us, it locks us up, it prevents us from motion.
Really
movement.
It could have, if I would have let myself stay there, if I wouldn't have processed it and tried and moved myself past it, then it really could have caused some serious issues in our relationship. Because that would have led to trust issues. He would have got frustrated because I would have been incredibly clingy, incredibly demanding and needy. And, he's not that type of guy. And he would really struggle with that, and I would be like me changing the rules on him.
Yeah.
Because I've not been that way up to this point. So it would be flipping the script. It would be changing the rules and to a whole new game a few weeks before we're getting married for life. Mm-hmm. So, it really could have messed a lot of things up. But thankfully, with my medicine, this podcast, with a lot of the reading I've done and a lot of the work that I've done, I was able to take that time to process it through, get a plan of action in place, and really focus on that and making sure that I'm as healthy as I can be.
Yeah.
Because I need to be a partner. I need to step up and be a partner.
Yeah.
So, but that's why I couldn't join us last week. Sorry, folks, but I kind of had a little bit of a crisis, I guess, of sorts. That and we had a flea epidemic in my household, and my cats had to get shaved. But, life goes on. So
that's actually, while you were telling this, I was trying not to laugh. I actually had to mute my mic twice because Jen's cat is right over her left shoulder. Yeah. And he kept, when he would lift his head up, you could see just his head looks so much bigger. Actually, what he looks like right now is, very similar to like the cats from, I can't think of the Disney movie now. The Siamese cats.
Aristocats.
Yeah, Aristocats.
Yeah.
Thank you. Jeez, I couldn't think of the name of it. Yeah.
The Siamese cats from Aristocats.
Yeah,
yes,
when he popped his head up, his head looks so big and disproportionate to his body.
Both of my cats look like bobbleheads right now.
Right, like you're in the middle of telling how, this going on with you, and I'm sitting here, and it's just, funny is funny, so it just pops up, and I'm just like,
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, they've both been very, very clingy. And it was Frankie, who is my Siamese. They're not allowed in the bedroom because the bedroom is a cat-free zone. And I was in the bedroom and I was so upset, and he almost took the door down.
Oh, yeah.
If he had claws, he would have broken the door because he was pounding on the door, caterwauling outside the door. He's like, I know something's going on in there. He was doing everything he could. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I can help you.
I purr, it relaxes people. Yeah. My purring relaxes people. Let me in.
I'm warm and comforting. Come on.
Well, not as warm, but
no, not as warm.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure very soft though, because that undercoat is always very soft. But
yes, they're both very soft.
Yeah.
And after going through everything, the fleas are still on my cats. Mm-hmm. So they are very unhappy, and I'm very unhappy. So back to the bathing.
Yep.
The kitty spa. So they get I fill the bathtub, and they get to marinate in warm, sudsy water for 5 to 10 minutes
Good times for everybody.
while I hold their heads above the water.
Right. I'm
And
glad.
it's evil, evil looks. Now they won't look as funny, though, because they're pretty much, down to their skin and bones to begin with.
Yeah,
So.
they'll dry fast now.
They will dry fast.
Yep.
Once they get past the initial shock of being in water, they kind of relax down into it, and they're like, hey, this isn't so bad. Just float here a little bit.
Right. Well,
just chill.
You, I'm sure you have, like little adorable life jackets for them that you put on.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. Of course.
Of course, and they're like slew of rubber duckies.
Obviously. Yeah, swimmies for their arms. Yeah.
You gotta have the play toys.
Right.
Whenever you're bathing your babies.
Yeah.
So, I know, it was a downer, but bringing everybody down a little bit. But
it's not, though.
What
see, the thing is, it's like, I don't see it as a downer because I actually, even though it sucks and I hate that you had to go through that feeling, Yeah. But the fact that when people go through that so many times when you come out of it, that's the launching point,
Yep,
that's
it.
the, you know what, this is all done. It's behind me. And like you're saying, you wrote your vows, you're feeling less of that. And some of the worst feelings for me, like with depression, is that overwhelming, just feeling overwhelmed. I wake up so many days and I feel like I can't. Like, I can't do anything. And there's some days where I've had like that good, just emotion dump, essentially. And then sometimes after that, it's like, oh man, you have a hangover, like you said, kind of that, from it. And then you're like, you know what? I'm okay now. Like it's just really wringing all of that out of yourself. And then once you're done with that, you feel lighter and you can launch from that, and so taking advantage of it is the real growth at that point. That's how you've grown and you've done good work, is that when you come out of that, you don't just go, I'm not going to bother anymore. Who cares? It's if you can come out of that, recognize what just happened and use that as your springboard. I think that's such a huge step the right way, So,
and it really was. I'm glad it was only one night.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to feel that for longer than that.
Yeah. Because quite frankly, in the past and stuff, it could have really been a lot longer than one night.
Oh, yeah.
But, thankfully it's, you've seen me go a whole weekend that way. Mm-hmm. And, so thankfully it was only one night and I was able to kind of work things out and get things taken care of, and situated. I'm still not 100% strong. Mm-hmm. I'm still very vulnerable right now and emotionally weak because of everything. To the point where I talked with my mom on Sunday and I was kind of giving her an overview of things going on, and she must have she was worried about me, of course, like any mother would. And I told her, I'm getting better. I'm doing okay. I'm pulling it all together and stuff. But I got a very nice email from her the next day, shortly followed by an email from her sister, my aunt. So my mom must have been talking as well. So, but I appreciate it, and a lot of good love and good wishes and stuff.
Yeah. But I appreciate, and I love the fact that your mom knows, like, she also knows that if having your aunt contact you is not overstepping the bounds, because you view your aunt as part of a support system,
Absolutely.
So I wanted to make sure that was said, so nobody thinks that it's like your mom being overbearing or something, because she's not. She's actively, really trying to bring help to you in case you need it. And, and again, knowing she's not overstepping,
Exactly. And just so everyone knows, both of my aunts, one is in the counseling field and the other one's married to a doctor. So both of them, and has had quite a lot of work, with counseling and groups and therapies and stuff like that. So both understand and bring a unique take to the situation that maybe a layman may not. So, and it doesn't surprise me that my mom goes to them because they are very, very knowledgeable, much more knowledgeable than she is when it comes to this type of stuff. Mm-hmm. So her going to them actually is very positive, for many reasons. One, because my mom, as I've mentioned on this, says I'm just slightly bipolar. So my mom doesn't quite grasp the whole ball of wax. So the fact that my mom, when she gets to a point where she's having trouble understanding, that she reaches out and to get more understanding from people who she feels are more knowledgeable, I think is huge, because that shows her desire to want to connect with me, want to understand me, and wants to know, how she can help me and stuff, which is all you can ask for a support system, is people who, when they can't understand, try to find a way to understand.
Yep. Exactly.
So it's a lot of positivity and stuff coming out of this, and I feel much better. And, I've delegated some things that were on my plate. I recognized that I get too lost in details, and I'm overwhelming myself with a bunch of details that are not necessary. That when I look at the big picture, and I need to take a step back and start looking at the big picture, I need to delegate more, and I need to learn to rely on others and trust others more than I do.
Yeah.
So
that'll certainly help. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really had a lot of really interesting things that came out of it. This last weekend, I had a bridal shower for my fiance's family. His cousin is getting married, and I ran into one of the cousins that's been really supportive and really great, and she's wanted to help me with wedding stuff all along, and I haven't really reached out to her. And she was expressing not necessarily hurt, but I guess maybe a little bit of disappointment that I haven't reached out to her. And my best friend has done pretty much the same thing. And it really helped me to see that me taking everything on my shoulders, I'm thinking that I'm making it easier on everybody else because I'm not burdening them. Yeah. But it really helped me to start seeing that I'm not a burden to them. I'm a blessing to them.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're
not giving them the opportunity to be of service to you.
Yep.
I'm not. And it was really, and at the end of the evening when we were all leaving, my mother-in-law, future mother-in-law, was introducing me to someone, and she introduced me as her super duper duper awesome soon to be daughter-in-law. And
cool.
Yeah, and there was just kind of the cherry on top that really, like I said, it was a huge process, a huge learning week for me, and I'm still processing, I'm still learning, and I'm still kind of going through everything. But yeah, I had a great conversation with my psychiatrist today. We're adjusting some of my meds. We had some really great conversation about different things. And I have a meeting with another appointment with my other doctor on the 8th. And I almost didn't go to my psychiatrist today because I almost talked myself out of it. Oh, it's all the way out there. I'm feeling better. I don't really need to go. I'll just call him and he can renew my scripts. No biggie.
Yeah.
And I stopped myself. I said, no, I owe this to me. I owe this to the people in my life that support me and are my cheerleaders.
Yeah.
I owe it to me most of all, to take care of me so that I can take care of others.
Yep, as we talked about long ago. Yep.
I almost felt like I was going back to the beginning. It was really, I slid down that hill and I rolled. I almost felt like I was starting over.
But it's really not, though. Like, what really happened was really isn't that you backslid, it's that you slid. It's almost like you slid down a hill, but it was forward, not backward. You know?
Yeah.
Even though it feels like a recession, it's probably not a recession, because it encouraged you to go back to the doctor to really talk with them. It's encouraged difference in your behavior, and it inspired you to write your vows. You're looking at, you've delegated. It's like those things you've told us across this episode show that you've taken it as an inspiration. Like I said before, using it as a springboard rather than a stumbling block,
Yeah.
I like when the idea, like it's those moments that I get beaten down to reasonableness.
Yeah. Yes.
It's so true. You're
it's
essentially
so true.
humbled.
It's like, it's humbling, not humiliating.
Yes.
We feel sometimes like we've been humiliated, but it's not. It's humbling. And that's why, like, even when you said I'm still a little emotionally weak, you need to be held a little gently. I don't think there's anything wrong with that ever. I think that's a great place to be in, actually, because I tend to be more open at that point. I tend to be more receptive. Yeah. I tend to seek, less, more often than shun. Yeah, I think it's a great place.
Yeah, vulnerability has gotten such a negative rap over the years. And don't get me wrong, there's there's ways of being vulnerable that are very that can be a weakness.
Unhealthy.
Yeah, and
sure.
Yeah, sure. that there's also that element of being vulnerable sometimes that it just means that you're reachable. It doesn't necessarily mean that every, and then at that point, and you're trusting that when you're in that state, that the people around you won't take advantage of it. And again, if they do, then it's a good learning tool as to learn who should and shouldn't be in your life, or to that level. But that's the thing is, like you said, it's, or Heno said, it's so much easier to be reasonable at that point because your ego has been shattered a bit. And
a little bit.
That's not a bad thing. A lot of times, one thing most people tend to have in his abundance is ego. They don't realize it. Like a great example is this, and Jen will know this. When on Salty Language, we as a joke took me, Tony, and we had a third person as a host named Tate at the time, and we took a narcissism quiz that was from, I forgot what it's not like one of those ones you just see on the internet, like, on Facebook or something. It was from an accredited place, and it's a test they give people to kind of rank your narcissism. And I scaled high on it. And, I was surprised because I have really low self-esteem. So, and in my head, it's like, well, how can you hate yourself yet be a narcissist? And what I didn't realize is the way that I'm a narcissist was it was all about me. I have to control. I have to this. I have to be right. Every sentence up had to start with I have to. Or I'm going to, those kind of things. And then when I started looking at that, because Jen pointed that out to me, that it was more in that aspect than it was that I'm like full of myself in the, like, I'm the greatest thing walking. It wasn't that. It was more a lot of times the first thing I do is go, how does this affect me? And then I was like, whoa, when I realized that, it was like, then I started tearing that wall a little bit to where now, we've joked on here. Well, not really joked. It was, a funny term, but it's not a joke. The positive narcissism, stuff. Mm-hmm. It's kind of led to these different things because, I don't want to be seen as a narcissist by people, but for a while I have to be a narcissist in a lot of ways, because in my head it was self-preservation. So, so that's how it was justified. Now, as I'm working on it and kind of coming through that, I have to be aware that I need to shed some of those things over time. And those are, like being right all the time. And if you're not right, not being able to deal with it. And, so, but that kind of put me in a really vulnerable spot at the time. But again, I chose to kind of work on it and try to not make everything about me at that point, And like you just did the same thing, Jen. Like you shattered your ego essentially by thinking, I'm not going to burden anybody else. And you know me well enough. I used to do the same thing. I do it all the time. I don't like asking other people to put themselves in uncomfortable positions for me. Essentially because then they won't ask me. That's what I'm hoping, you know?
And for me, it's the opposite. It's like, I want to be service to everybody. You know, I will do anything and everything for anyone.
Well,
you know,
let me
ask me and I'll do it.
No, you want to be of service to everyone but yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when it comes to me and accepting, it's really tough for me to accept help. It's really tough for me to be as vulnerable to ask for help.
Yeah.
To trust that somebody is going to take care of things and be okay when things don't go 100% right. You know, it's when something goes wrong and I do it, it's not, you know, I can blame myself, you know, whatever, and I can move past it.
I did the same thing.
If somebody else makes a mistake, then it's much harder for me because then it's like, well, do I get mad at them? Do I not get mad at them? Do I go and hurt their feelings? It becomes this big thing. And, you know, with me, it's easy.
Yep.
You know, so
yeah.
it just really helped me reinforce there's a lot of great things that I need to work on. But that's okay.
Yep.
Because I've got a plan. And I'm going to be working on my plan, and it's all going to be good.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So with that, where are we at on time?
We're at hour 17, so we're over.
Hour 17? Mm-hmm. Okay. Do we want to continue with the topic tonight, or do we want to wrap it up here?
Whatever you want to do. I think we've had a pretty good talk here.
Yeah, I feel pretty good now.
Yeah, I feel like this is a good spot to end it. It feels like a natural ending. So
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. I think if we continue on with our topic, that we'll probably feel like we're shoehorning it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there you go, people. Little behind the curtain talk there. Pulling the curtain back.
I prefer up your skirt, but hey, you know,
hey,
we have our own terms. A little up the skirt talk.
Yeah.
Exactly. I guess so with that, folks.
Actually, I'm sorry. Hold on. Before you get into all that, I actually have one thing I wanted to bring up real quick before we're done here. I forgot about it. There's a podcast that I was listening to and I absolutely love. It's called Hidden Brain. And it basically talks about people and their social behaviors and kind of why, you know, it's about the, you know, why people act the way they do and those kind of things. And it's usually half an hour to 45 minutes. And anyway, it's one of my favorite podcasts. But anywho, episode 42, which was posted on August 23rd, it's called Decide Already. And I'll read the synopsis they have, which is, this week, Harvard researcher Dan Gilbert tells us why we're bad at predicting our future happiness, how that affects our decision-making, and why we're actually happier after making a decision that feels irrevocable. And if you've listened to us in the past, you know, we've talked about paralysis by analysis, you know, and people get frozen by having too many options. And what this guy actually talked about is how people they are happier once they've made a decision, no matter, basically, even if it was the wrong decision, people are happier because they decided. And, you know, like basically saying, I just read something earlier today that it was basically like, you know, it's kind of like saying, you know, an oops is better than never making a decision. You know, it's easier for us to process and be happier with, because how many times in life you go, you know, I made the best decision I could at the time. Mm-hmm. Even if down the road you're like, wow, that turned out really badly for me. Yep. Oh, you know, there you go. So anyway, I encourage people. It's a 24 minutes and 11 second long podcast. It's a very short podcast, but it's got some really good stuff in there if you have issues with paralysis by analysis, or it's just a good podcast to listen to anyway, to kind of reinforce that just make a decision. You just make the best decision you can and just go forward, you know, and just let things fall as they may, and then make another decision. And just, rather than just standing there being unhappy because you just won't make a decision, So anyway, like I said, I'll have a link to it. And if not, like I said, people should be listening to the podcast anyways, because it's a really good podcast. So there you go.
Awesome. What is it they say? You miss all the shots you don't take?
Yeah, and it's that exact thought, really,
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, so, yeah, that sounds really, really good.
Yeah.
Definitely have to check that out.
Yep.
I have not been able to spend as much time as I want on podcasts lately. I've been, honestly, too absorbed in my TV. I need to break away from my second boyfriend here.
Yeah.
And, yeah, his name is Vizio, and his favorite movies are Junk TV, and
right.
Yes, me and Vizio are very happy.
Oh, Pisces.
But anyways, so with that, if you want to continue the conversation with us, you know what's coming, folks. You can contact me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life, and that's Jen with a G. I don't post too much, but I do see everything that you send me, and I will respond to private messages and whatnot. You can also reach us on via email at thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com or our website at the crazylifepodcast.weebly.com. Almost couldn't get that one out. And you, Hanno, how can they reach you?
Find me on Twitter at Ida Henno. Find me on Facebook at Henno Heitcher, or grab us through our own Facebook page, The Crazy Life. Join our group over there.
Mm-hmm.
Please do. We'd love to see you on there. And Facebook is fun and innocuous and very relaxing.
And we don't post political stuff on our Facebook.
No, not on the.
It's a safe place. Yeah.
Not on the Crazy Life one. We don't.
Right.
On my personal one, I might get a little political right now.
That's fine. The Crazy Life group is it's a safe place.
Yeah, it's a safe place.
Yeah.
And you, Brian, how can they reach you?
You can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can find, actually I forgot, the show Twitter also is at The Crazy Life Pod if you want to see when new shows are released, even though you should just be subscribing anyway. I guess I'll jump into that. Also, if you could rate, review, and again, subscribe to us, that helps us get more visible in iTunes and Stitcher's algorithms. But you can also, the Facebook group can be found at facebook.com/groups/Crazy Life Podcast, or just type in Crazy Life Podcast, and it should pop up. The logo for it, I believe, is the same, so you should, pretty easy to find. Let's see. If you want to check out the other podcast I'm on, which is Salty Language, you can find it on Twitter at salty_language, or you can go to saltylanguage.com, and that show is not safe for work. There was something else here I was going to mention. I absolutely forgot what it was. Oh, you can find us on YouTube now. I've been putting all of our shows up on YouTube. There's no video, but if you just want to listen to the show through YouTube, you can do that. I know some people can access YouTube even though they can't access other things. It's strange. So anyway, if you're just a person who likes to use YouTube a lot, you can find us there. And the link is in the show notes, because unfortunately I can't use the custom URL yet because they won't let me, but, just looking. Oh, we're part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. And, oh, nope, that's it, because the other one ran away. Sad panda. So, and then also, I'd like to, mention to you that we're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals in that field. So, please don't mistake this show as therapy. If you think you need some help, please go find help from a professional, and, try, like Jen's got her course of action in her lists and stuff. So, go get a course of action so you can attack appropriately, I guess. And also, if you're feeling, if you have thoughts of suicide or ideations of suicide, please, reach out to someone. Don't keep it to yourself. Tell someone in your support system, or, tell your medical professional, definitely. Or if you're having thoughts of suicide, call, 911, tell them you're having a mental health emergency, go to a hospital, or you can call the suicide prevention hotline. Or if you text, to 741, they can kind of talk you through the situation. So, please don't act on those thoughts though. If you're feeling that way, there's help if you want it. And it's not easy. It's a lot of hard work, but you can do it too. So there you go.
Absolutely. Yeah. With that, everybody, have a great week. Keep breathing. Wiggle your toes. And let other people be of service to you as you are of service to them. Give it a try. It's worth it.